Welcome to Vintage Gaming Memories. Shall we play a game?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. And in this video, we're going to look at a purchase I made directly from Atari.com. It's in this box. Let's open this up and get a closer view. Bubble wrap, shrink wrap. Here it is. Bitmap Books presents Atari 2600/7800, a visual compendium. And this was officially licensed product by Atari. Now this has been out for quite some time, I believe since 2020, and I just picked this up recently. Found it on Atari.com. I figured, why not? This was maybe early December, and as of this video, it's still available in stock, as well as also on the publisher's site, which is Bitmap Books. I'll put a link to both of those in the description if you're interested in getting yourself a copy of this. So at first glance, I'd say this book has a lot of pages, and you know what? I would be correct. There's a total of 528 pages that covers over 200 classic games that we might remember playing with our Atari. Now let's examine this slipcase, which is really cool. It actually, this is a holographic cover. You can get a good view of this with the camera as I rotate it. Hopefully that came through and you could see it. Definitely like the slipcover. It's really nice. And there's the side and the back. So let's pull it out of the slipcover. And even better, really nice dust cover on this too. A lot of protection for this book. Now this book is really made to open up fully, and by that I mean if I open this up somewhere in the middle here, it lays nice and flat so you can see both pages. Now looking at the binder again, you can see how it opens up really nice. And there's this little ribbon here. This little red ribbon is a bookmark ribbon, also on top. Pretty cool. Added touches to this book already on the outside with the slipcover, the dust cover, the nice binder it has. It just really has a great presentation on this book, and we haven't even opened it up to look into it yet. Now I'm curious what it looks like underneath this dust cover. Just as nice. Let me just take this off for a quick second to see. Yeah, it's identical, of course. Let me move this to the side for now. And another view. This is a great hardcover book. Awesome book to put in your collection, whether it's Atari or just video games in general. Right away, it's an eye catcher. Somebody's going to say, what is in this book? Because all these little pixel art that you see here will catch someone's eye. Speaking of that, there is a lot of imagery and details in this book. And with the imagery, it states that it's focused on pixel art, cover art, and the product design for each system. On the detail side, it has interviews with key people in the industry, and it covers the highs and lows during the video gaming history, such as the crash of '83. And as with other books I've reviewed on this channel, I'm going to take a quick pause while I go through this book in its entirety, and I'll come back and give you my honest opinion. And here's a quick preview. But I will be back in 1 second with more details. All right, I'm back. That was pretty quick, right? But it actually took me a few hours to go through this entire book pretty thoroughly. And here is my observations and perspective of it. Now, first of all, the 7 that you see on the side here on the binder, in case you're wondering what that means, well, it's the 7th in the series of visual compendium books. And previous others, for example, were on the Commodore, Super Nintendo, and the ZX Spectrum. So check out their website if you are interested in those or any others. Now, another thing is that I mentioned in the beginning that this book came out in 2020. However, if you check out the back here, there is a 2024 copyright date. So that would mean that there's been some minor updates from the original print, and this is probably the latest version. I'm not sure how many changes, but that's just something to note. Now, as I open this up and begin from the beginning, gotta love this page. Let me center it here. I have to say that I actually love something that was really cool too. There was a contributors section, and in here I saw a lot of names that were very familiar. There were past designers, originators, and founders noted here. So this really does give some credence to what you'll be reading from the front cover to the back cover and everything in between. That's always nice to know who's actually contributed to this book. Now, after the contributors section is one of my favorites of books, and that is the foreword. And you wonder, why would I like the foreword so much? Well, for me, the foreword is something that I like to read because I'm curious who the author feels is the best person to help endorse or bring light to how awesome this book is to the reader. And they usually only give a few pages, sometimes only a page, or even a few paragraphs. But this one here is a full 2 pages, and it's done by Gary Kitchen. For those of you who may not know Gary, he's the man behind Keystone Capers, and most recently the game Circus Convoy. And he's been an accomplished programmer, designer, and even inventor since the 1980s. I did read everything he wrote in here for the foreword, and he did a great job. He gives the reader a high-level overview of the Atari 2600's beginnings and how the 7800 came into play. So far, so good as I was continuing into this book. Now, before jumping into the games, the book does provide a great detail on Atari history. So some of the things I've been reading on the history of it, I was aware of, like the crash of '83 and E.T. in Alamogordo, New Mexico, which coincidentally, I do have an authentic game from that burial, and it's the Atari 2600 Video Olympic Complete Box and Cartridge. As you can see here, it's a interesting talking piece on my wall. But back to the book here, I really do like how it walks the reader to the heart of the book, which is the games. And many games there are. So one thing you would notice as I was just thumbing through the pages here is that the games are shown on both sides. So they did a really nice job of utilizing the left and right pages to give a full spread of each game. And then they position the text to talk a little bit about the games very nicely so it's out of the view and you have a nice look at the image. So it's not one of those books that you might have a little blurb on one side of the page and then the other is the text. They do a really good job of giving you a good view of what the game looks like if you're not familiar with it. And also the text that they give you for each of these games, it's nicely positioned and it's perfect because it's not too long and it gets you some great insight for each game. So for example, let's see, one of them that I really liked was Fishing Derby. So reading this a little bit, there's only 3 paragraphs. I can imagine how this was being developed in Activision's 800 square foot office back then. David Crane here paints the picture nicely on how the working environment was laid out. He mentions how the design lab was actually in the kitchen. It was pretty cool to read about how this game was being designed and the fish being looked at as if it was an aquarium and people walking by the lab thinking, that's pretty interesting. Now, there are interviews within these pages, and they're in between some of the games here and there. One interview I liked that really transitioned nicely was with Howard Scott Warshaw. And what I liked about this one was because you have a nice little beginning about his memories of the Atari 2600, but then it just transitions to some of the games that he was involved with, E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we jump right into that. Now, those are some games we all probably heard of in the past for the 2600 or even the 7800. But even better yet, this book also covers some homebrew. For example, you get a taste of Mappy. So this is a homebrew for the 2600 that came out in 2018. And then we even have a nice one here that I'm pretty familiar with as well, and that is Frenzy. This one came out in 2013, and this is for the 7800. There's just a lot of content in here, and a lot of imagery, a lot of good reading, a lot of memories when you read in some of these games or look at some of the pictures. So each page just kind of brings out a lot of that information and feeling, which is awesome. So I really don't want to spoil it for others, so I won't try to give too much away, but you can see this is a very well put together book on the Atari 2600 and 7800 games, with the added touches of having people close to the games provide their insight too. If you don't have this book, it's definitely one you want to have in your collection, and I'd have to say this is definitely a good buy. Hopefully you can still pick up one if you don't have one and you're interested. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gives you a little more insight of what this book contains and if it's something that may be of interest for you to have on your bookshelf. Until next time, keep that gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.